Imagine you had a rich friend, very rich. He inherited fortune from the family, big house, important name. Everyone respected him. He never had to work hard because the money was already there. You grew up hearing stories about how his family built empires, conquered the world, dominated trade, was the standard of success. Then you meet him 20 years later, and you can't believe it. The big house sold. He lives in a small apartment now. The car sold too. He takes the bus, the important name. Nobody cares anymore. You ask what happened. He sighs. I spent it all. The inheritance is gone, and I never learned how to make real money. That guy who was the model of success is 3 months from losing everything. Welcome to the economic reality of the United Kingdom in 2025. For centuries, they were the empire, the country that dominated a quarter of the planet. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. London was the financial center of the world. The sun never set on the British Empire. But if you stop looking at past glory and start looking at present numbers, the numbers that appear in reports nobody reads, you don't see empire. You see a country living on memories. We're talking about an economy that shrunk to become smaller than India. India, the country they colonized for 200 years, is now larger than them. And here's the kicker. All that British pride you see, all that pomp, it's performance, theater, because underneath the surface the United Kingdom is broke. NHS, the health system collapsing, people dying in waiting lines, infrastructure falling apart, young people fleeing the country, and a debt that never stops growing. In this video, we're not talking about the royal family or Big Ben. We're talking about why the United Kingdom is worse than France and Germany combined, and why it matters to you. Buckle up, it's going to be brutal. First, the decision that broke everything. Brexit, the shot in the foot. Let's start with the most self-destructive economic decision in modern European history. June 2016, Brexit referendum. 52% voted to leave the European Union. They sold it as take back control, take our country back, make Britain great again. Sounds familiar, it should. But here's what really happened. They divorced from the largest trade bloc on the planet. Single market of 450 million people, no tariffs, no barriers, and traded it for nothing. Because here's the truth nobody told you. The United Kingdom doesn't produce almost anything the world needs. They don't make competitive cars like Germany. They don't make luxury products like France. They don't make electronics like Asia. What they had, access to the European market. Companies from around the world put headquarters in London. Why? Because from London you sold to all of Europe without barriers. Nissan put factory in Sunderland, Toyota in Derby, BMW in Oxford, not because they loved the British, because from there they sold to Germany, France, Italy, Spain. Zero tariff, zero bureaucracy, Brexit ended that. Now, if you produce in the United Kingdom, you have to pay tariff to sell in Europe. You have to fill out paperwork. You have delays at the border. You know what companies did? They left. Nissan cut production. Honda closed factory. Financial companies moved thousands of jobs to Dublin, Paris, Frankfurt. In 2023, foreign direct investment in the United Kingdom fell 90%. 90%. Companies don't want to invest there anymore because it lost the only advantage it had, access to Europe. Hey, quick question. If you had a business that worked because you had access to a big market, and you voluntarily cut that access, how long would you survive? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe because we're going to show you how many other things broke. 2. The NHS that's killing people. Free healthcare that doesn't work. Now let's talk about British pride, the jewel in the crown of the welfare state, the NHS National Health Service. British people tell you with pride, we have free healthcare, universal, better than the United States. Let's look at the real numbers. Average wait time for specialist appointment in NHS, 18 weeks, 4.5 months. You have a suspicious lump. Your doctor refers you to oncologist. You wait 4 months to be seen. You know how many people can die waiting 4 months. Many. In 2023, 7 million people were on NHS waiting lists. 7 million? In a country of 67 million, 1 in 10 British people waiting for treatment, hip surgery, average wait 1 year, cataract, 10 months. Cancer treatment, if you're lucky within 2 months, but it gets worse. Ambulances, If you call 9999 British equivalent of 911 asking for ambulance, you know how long it takes to arrive. National average 1 hour and 30 minutes. You're having a heart attack. You call. Ambulance takes 90 minutes to arrive. You know how much time you have during heart attack before permanent brain damage. 10 minutes. People are dying waiting for ambulance, literally, on sidewalks, in their homes, and the NHS calls this free. You don't pay hospital bill, but you pay in taxes, very high taxes. And you pay with your life when the treatment you need doesn't arrive in time. Here's the truth. The NHS isn't free. It's rationed. When you have free system funded by government. You don't control demand with price, you control with queue. And queue means wait, and wait means death. But British people can't admit, because the NHS is religion, its national identity, you can't criticize. So they stay in queue and die in queue and call it progress. 3. London versus the rest. One country, two realities. Here's a fact that tells you everything about the United Kingdom. London produces 23% of British GDP. One city, less than 15% of population, produces almost a quarter of all wealth. The rest, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Newcastle, Glasgow, Cardiff, are dying if you leave London and go north. It's another country, literally. Cities that once were industrial, that made steel, ships, textiles, machinery, today, empty, closed factories, closed shops, young people without jobs. The deindustrialization of the United Kingdom was more brutal than any other developed country. In 1970, industry was 32% of British GDP. Today, less than 10%. They killed industry on purpose. Margaret Thatcher in the 80s decided the future was financial services, not manufacturing. So they let factories die. Let mines close. Let shipbuilding end. And bet everything on London, on banks, on finance. It worked. For a while, London became global financial center. Billionaires from around the world bought apartments there. But here's the problem. Finance doesn't employ many people. A bank in London can generate billions in revenue with 1,000 employees. A factory in Manchester needed 10,000 employees to generate the same revenue. So when you kill industry and replace with finance, you know what happens. You create a country of two classes. Class 1 London elite, bankers, lawyers, consultants, rich, very rich. Class 2 everyone else, working service jobs, minimum wage, expensive rent, no future. And the distance between the two only grows. Average salary in London £45,000 per year. Average salary in Blackpool, northern coastal city, 23,000. Same currency, same country, 100% difference. British people in London live in one world, British people outside London live in another. And the government only cares about London because that's where the money comes from. Infrastructure investment, London wins. HS2 high-speed train was supposed to connect London to the north. They cut the northern part, only built near London. The rest of the country was abandoned. 4. The pound. That lost value. Reserve currency became weak currency. Let's talk about something British people hate. To admit, the pound sterling doesn't matter anymore. For centuries, the pound was the global reserve currency. Before the dollar, it was the pound. The British Empire forced the world to use pounds. Global trade happened in pounds. That gave power. Power to print currency the world accepted. Power to finance deficits without consequence. But that time ended 100 years ago. Today, dollar is 60% of global reserves. Euro is 20%, pound, less than 5%. Nobody wants pounds, nobody needs pounds. And you know what happens when your currency doesn't matter, you lose control. When United Kingdom runs trade deficit buying more than it sells, they have to pay in currency that matters. Dollars, euros. When pound falls, inflation explodes because everything they import becomes more expensive. After Brexit, pound fell 15% against the dollar. Overnight, you know what that means. Everything imported became 15% more expensive. Gasoline, imported, more expensive. Food, 50% imported, more expensive. Electronics, all imported, More expensive. Inflation hit 11% in 2022, highest in 40 years. British people became 11% poorer in 1 year, and the pound continues weak because the world doesn't trust anymore, doesn't trust British economy, doesn't trust political decisions, doesn't trust the future. So they sell pounds and buy dollars and euros and yuan, anything except pounds, the currency that once dominated the world. Now barely maintains value. Pause for a second, go to Google, search pound-dollar historical, look at the 20-year chart. It's a line going down, constantly, without stopping. Tell me in the comments, would you keep your savings in a currency that loses value every year? 5. The young people who are fleeing. Permanent brain drain. Now let's talk about the United Kingdom's future, or better, the lack of future. Young British people are leaving, en masse. In the last 10 years, more than 1 million British people between 20 and 35 left the country. Where to? Australia, Canada, United States, Dubai, Singapore, anywhere that pays better, that charges less tax, that has future. Why? Because in the United Kingdom, if you're young and talented, you're punished. Income tax starts at 20%, rises to 40% after £50,000. After 125,000, 45%. Almost half of what you earn goes to government. And what do you get in return? NHS that doesn't work, trains that are late, roads full of holes, rent in London, £2,000 per month for a tiny apartment. Buy a house? Forget it. Average house in London costs £500,000. If you earn $50,000 per year good salary and save 20% $10,000 per year, how long to save for 10% down payment? 5 years, saving aggressively, no vacations, no life, and that's assuming prices don't rise, they do. So, young British people, do the math and realize, I can stay here, pay half my salary in taxes, live in a tiny apartment, wait 5 years to maybe buy a house, or I can go to Australia, earn more, pay less tax, buy house in 2 years, have quality of life. You know what they choose, Australia. And who stays? Those who have no choice, those who depend on the system, the old, the retirees, the producers leave, the consumers stay. You know what happens when you lose an entire generation of talent. You have no future. 6. The debt that's exploding, living borrowed. Now let's talk about the number nobody wants to see. United Kingdom public debt £2.7 trillion, that's 100% of GDP, for the first time since the 1960s. And growing? Fast? Why? Because they spend more than they collect. Every year, decades in a row, deficit in 2024 £120 billion. To put in perspective, that's £1,800 per person, per year, that they borrow. And from whom do they borrow? Markets? Investors? Pension funds? But here's the problem. Investors don't lend for free, they want interest. And the riskier you are, the more interest they charge. United Kingdom used to pay 2% per year in interest on debt. Now, 4.5%. More than doubled. You know what that means in real money? £121 billion per year, just on interest. Not paying debt, paying interest. That's more than they spend on defense, more than education, more than police. They're paying more to the bankers who own the debt than for services citizens need. And debt continues growing because deficit continues. It's a spiral. You borrow to pay deficit. Deficit creates more debt. More debt creates more interest increases. Deficit. Eventually, you reach a point where you can't pay anymore. The United Kingdom hasn't arrived there yet, but it's approaching, fast. In 2011, the IMF had to rescue the United Kingdom. 78 billion euros, conditions, brutal austerity, salary cuts, pension cuts, public service cuts, took 10 years to exit the crisis. And now, walking straight toward the next one, but this time who will rescue? IMF doesn't want any more, tired of the United Kingdom. European Union also already rescued Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Spain. How many more times? Final thoughts. The empire that became shadow, living on the past. So let's recap what you learned about the United Kingdom. Brexit cut access to the largest market in the world. Foreign investment fell 90%. Companies fled. NHS collapsing. 7 million on waiting lists. Ambulances taking 90 minutes. People dying waiting. London produces 23% of GDP. Rest of country abandoned. Most brutal. Deindustrialization in developed world. Pound fell 15% post-Brexit. Inflation hit 11%. Reserve currency became weak currency. 1 million talented young people fled in 10 years. Permanent brain drain. Debt 100% of GDP. Deficit 120 billion per year. 121 billion spent just on interest. That's the reality behind the photos of the royal family. The United Kingdom was empire, was powerhouse, was center of the world, but lived on inheritance and spent it all. They didn't invest in the future, didn't build modern industry, didn't train workers, didn't create tech companies. They bet on finance, on London, on past glory. And now the inheritance is gone, and they don't know how to make real money. France has problems, Germany has problems, but at least they still produce things. United Kingdom produces what? Financial services that are leaving, tourism to see castles, and nostalgia. You can live on nostalgia for a while, but eventually the bill arrives, and for the United Kingdom, the bill arrived. If this video changed how you look at the United Kingdom, do me a favor, hit that like button, share with someone who still romanticizes Europe. And subscribe if you want to understand the economic collapse happening in real time. Next video, why Italy is already technically bankrupt and nobody's talking about it. Thanks for watching. Don't be impressed by history. Look at today's numbers. See you in the next one.